Self-charging phones. Sounds like science fiction, right? But what if I told you that tapping your screen a few times could actually power your device? Today, we're diving into a technology that could revolutionize how we use our smartphones.
Wait, what? You're saying our fidgeting could actually charge our phones? That's wild. How does that even work?
Well, it's all about something called mechanical energy harvesting. Basically, scientists are developing materials that can convert the force of our taps and swipes into electrical energy. It's like turning our fingers into tiny power plants.
Hmm, that's fascinating. So, what kind of materials are we talking about here? I'm guessing it's not just your average touchscreen.
You're right about that. The key players here are piezoelectric materials and triboelectric nanogenerators. Piezoelectric materials generate electricity when they're deformed, even slightly. So, imagine these materials embedded beneath your phone's touchscreen. Every tap or swipe you make could generate a small amount of power.
Oh, I see. And what about those triboelectric nano thingies you mentioned?
Triboelectric nanogenerators, yeah. They work on a slightly different principle. They generate electricity through the triboelectric effect, which is essentially static electricity produced by friction between two different materials. In this case, it's the friction between your finger and the screen.
That's mind blowing. It's like we're harnessing the power of static electricity. But, how much power are we really talking about here? I mean, I can't imagine a few taps being enough to fully charge a smartphone.
You're right to be skeptical. The current prototypes can't fully charge a phone yet, but we're making progress. The goal right now is to extend battery life by a few hours with just a few minutes of tapping. And when you combine this with other power-efficient technologies already in our phones, it could make a significant difference.
Hmm, that's still pretty impressive. So, what other technologies could this be combined with? Are there other innovative charging methods in development?
Absolutely. Researchers are looking at creating hybrid self-sustaining energy systems. Imagine combining this touch-based charging with solar cells on the back of your phone, or even kinetic energy harvesting that generates power when you shake or move your device. Together, these could create a phone that rarely, if ever, needs to be plugged in.
Wow, that's like creating little power plants in our pockets. But I'm curious, how would this work with the current trend of sleek, thin phone designs? Would these energy harvesting components make our phones bulkier?
That's a great question. The challenge for engineers is to integrate these technologies without compromising the sleek designs we've come to expect. The good news is that many of these energy harvesting materials can be made incredibly thin. For example, some piezoelectric materials can be just a few atoms thick.
That's incredible. It's amazing how nanotechnology is enabling these innovations. But let's think beyond smartphones for a moment. What other applications do you think we might see for this technology?
Oh, the possibilities are really exciting. Think about wearables like smartwatches or fitness trackers that never need to be taken off to charge, or medical devices that can be powered by the subtle movements of a patient's body. This could be a game changer for people with implanted medical devices.
Right? And what about in the realm of the Internet of Things? I could see this being useful for all those smart home devices we're increasingly surrounding ourselves with.
Exactly. Imagine sensors and smart devices throughout your home that never need battery changes or to be plugged in. It could make smart homes much more practical and accessible for everyone. And think about the implications for remote environmental monitoring or disaster relief efforts.
Oh, that's a fantastic point. Self-charging devices could be invaluable in disaster zones where power infrastructure has been damaged. It could help keep communication lines open and potentially save lives.
Absolutely, but it's not all smooth sailing. There are some challenges we need to overcome before this technology becomes mainstream. The biggest hurdle is efficiency. We need to be able to convert enough mechanical energy into electricity to make a real difference. And then there's the question of durability. Can these touchscreens withstand years of constant tapping without degrading?
Hmm, those are good points. I hadn't even thought about the wear and tear on the screen. And I imagine cost is a factor too, right? New technology tends to be expensive at first. Do you think this could lead to a significant increase in the price of smartphones?
Well, initially, phones with this technology might be more expensive. But as with most tech innovations, prices tend to come down as production scales up and becomes more efficient. The real question is whether the benefits of self charging capabilities will outweigh the initial cost for consumers.
That's true. I suppose it's a bit like the early days of smartphones themselves. They were expensive at first, but now they're ubiquitous. Do you think we'll see a similar adoption curve with self charging technology?
It's certainly possible. If the technology proves to be as game changing as it promises, we could see rapid adoption. But it will depend on how well it performs in real world conditions and how quickly manufacturers can integrate it into their devices.
Speaking of real world conditions, I'm curious about the environmental impact of this technology. On one hand, it could reduce our reliance on the power grid, which is great. But on the other hand, are there any potential downsides we should be aware of?
That's an excellent question. From an environmental perspective, reducing our reliance on the power grid is definitely a positive. It could lead to significant energy savings over time. However, we also need to consider the materials used in these energy harvesting components. Some rare earth elements used in electronics can have a significant environmental impact in their extraction and processing.
That's a really important point. It's crucial that we consider the full life cycle of these devices. But overall, do you think the environmental benefits outweigh the potential drawbacks?
On balance, I believe they do. While we need to be mindful of the materials used, the long term energy savings and reduction in electronic waste from fewer chargers could be substantial. Plus, this technology could enable more efficient use of renewable energy sources in our devices.
That's a great perspective. It's exciting to think about where we might be in the next decade. If all these technologies come together, we could have phones that are not just smarter, but truly self sustaining. What do you think that would mean for the average user?
For users, it means freedom. Imagine never having to worry about your phone dying when you need it most. You'd always have enough charge for emergency calls, navigation, or ordering a ride home. And think about the implications for people in remote areas or during natural disasters, where access to electricity is limited. It could be a literal lifesaver.
That's a really important point. We often take for granted how much we rely on our phones, especially in emergency situations. This technology could provide a crucial safety net.
Absolutely. And it's not just about emergency situations. Think about how this could change our daily habits. No more frantically searching for outlets at airports or cafes. No more carrying around bulky power banks. It could fundamentally change how we interact with our devices.
That's true. But I have to ask, would you be willing to tap your screen 100 times to charge your phone?
That's an interesting question. At first, it might seem annoying, but if it meant never having to plug in my phone again, I think I'd get used to it pretty quickly. Plus, I'm always fidgeting with my phone anyway, so why not put that nervous energy to good use?
Haha, that's a good way to look at it. And who knows, maybe they'll develop games or apps specifically designed to generate power while you play. It could add a whole new dimension of mobile gaming.
Oh, I love that idea. Imagine a game where your high score directly correlates to how much you've charged your phone. It could make waiting in line or sitting on the bus a lot more productive. And it might even encourage people to be more active with their devices rather than just passively scrolling.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's fascinating how this technology could change our relationship with our phones. And when you think about it, this is just one example of how innovation can make our lives easier and greener.
Definitely. And it's not just about the environment. Think about the economic impact. If our devices are self-sustaining, we could see a significant reduction in energy costs for individuals and businesses alike. It could have far-reaching effects on our economy and energy infrastructure.
Wow, I hadn't even considered the broader economic angle. It's amazing how one innovation can have such wide-ranging implications. As we wrap up our discussion, what do you think is the most exciting aspect of this technology?
For me, it's the potential for independence and reliability. The idea that we could have devices that are truly self-sustaining, that we can rely on no matter where we are or what's happening around us, is incredibly empowering. It's not just about convenience, it's about security and peace of mind. And when you consider the potential applications in emergency situations or remote areas, it becomes clear that this technology could be truly life-changing for many people.
I couldn't agree more. It's exciting to think about a future where we're not tethered to power outlets or constantly worrying about battery life. And who knows what other innovations this might inspire.
Exactly. As we continue to push the boundaries of what's possible with energy harvesting, who knows what other incredible technologies we might develop? It's a reminder of how quickly technology is advancing and how innovations that seem like science fiction today could be commonplace in just a few years.
Well, I, for one, can't wait to see what the future holds. Thank you for joining me on this fascinating exploration of self charging phones. It's been a pleasure discussing this with you.
The pleasure was all mine. And to our listeners, we'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you think this technology could change your life? Let us know. And remember to stay curious and keep an eye on the horizon. The future of technology is full of surprises, and we'll be here to explore them with you.